Okay, hang on. I've turned the camera on so it doesn't show. Can you see my screen now, or y'all froze? Okay, can you see my screen? Y'all keep freezing up on me. I don't know what's going on.
We can.
Okay. Maybe I won't freeze up on y'all. Okay, so did y'all print out the medication orders handout, the interpreting medication orders? It was. Let me get off this. So I was grading test a while ago. Let's see. Make sure y'all are seeing the right window. Yeah. Okay. So the medication orders, that's the one you need. This other one's labeled wrong. It's actually oral dosages. So I don't know why that one was labeled wrong. But we're going to look at the medication orders. And so I'm going to pull that down. In your textbook on page 143 gives you the 7 parts of a drug order. And I'm going to write them over here. You want the name of the patient. You want the name of the drug or the medication. And 3, you want the dosage of the drug. I'm just going to write dosage. The 4th part is the route. How are you going to take it? How's it given? We want our frequency, which is the time or how often. And if there's any special instructions, they'll be in this one. The special instructions would be like taking it with food, or if it's for pain, or well, you can see some of these for nausea. Sometimes it's take before meals or after meals. You just have to be careful and read. The 6th one is you need the date and the time it was written. And then the 7 is that you need a signature and license of the person writing the order. So that's the 7 parts. If you go to a doctor and he writes out a prescription, some prescriptions have to be written or typed out. They can't be faxed. So on those prescriptions, you're going to have all 7 parts. The ones that are faxed will still have it won't be a signature, but it'll be a typed as to who the person is with their licensures. You know, Jane Doe MD or John Doe MD or whoever the doctor, the healthcare provider is. The parts that we look at for calculating dosages and the different parts that we have to do with the calculating dosages is we want the name of the drug, the dosage, the route, and the frequency, time, and special instructions. So those are the ones that we're going to concentrate on as far as picking out the dose or picking out the parts of the medication order. Also in your book on page 142 at the bottom of the textbook is a list of common medication abbreviations or medical abbreviations. You need to know these. You need to be familiar with them. That's something to point with. Like IM is the intermuscular, but it's an injection. So our route would be IM because it's specific. It wouldn't use just an injection. IM, IV, subcutaneous or subcut, SL, ID. All of these here are all injections, but they're specific injections. So we've got to know, you need to know all of these, but need to know that, the intradermal injection is just right through the top layer of the skin. SL is not an injection, sorry. SL is a sublingual. It's you take a tablet or a capsule and it melts under the tongue. Subcutaneous goes into the top layer of the skin. Of course, the IV PB, the IV piggyback goes into your IV, into the intravenous. IV is intravenous and IM is intermuscular. Then you have the gastrostomy tube, the nasogastric tube, and the it's the one that goes in the nose. Can't think of how they say that. But you got your GT, your NG, and your NJ. We don't see a whole lot of those, but you do see them once in a while. You have a PO, which is by mouth. It's the route is generally we use orally, but we could also say by mouth because it means the same thing. PR is per rectum or rectally. Those are all routes. Then we have our frequencies. This would be in our special instructions. Your AC would be give it before meals. PC is after meals. The ad lib as desired or freely. The PRN is when necessary. A lot of times you'll have like every 6 hours PRN. So you can only take it 6 hours apart, but only if they need it. Stat is immediately, at once. ASAP is as soon as possible. There's a difference here between, ASAP, but stat could mean somebody's life or death. If you got to give them the nitroglycerin stat or something else, you do it immediately as soon as you can, as soon as physically possible. ASAP is as soon as you can also, but it's more of a don't stop what you're doing and get it. The stat is stop what you're doing and do it. The BID is twice daily. TID is 3 times a day. QID is 4 times a day. And then we have, of course, minute is minute, or MIN is minute. H is hour. QH is every hour. The Q stands for every, pretty much all the way down through here. Q2H is every 2 hours. Q3H is every 3 hours, so forth and so on. And then we have some general abbreviations. The A with a line over it is before, so do it before, maybe before surgery. It may be 15 minutes before surgery. The P with a line over it is after. You may do it, so many hours after they've had something, some kind of medication or some kind of procedure. The C is with. The S with the line is without. Q is every. QS is quantity sufficient, though. Don't get the QS mixed up with the Q's for every. AQ is water. NPO is nothing by mouth. The PO is by mouth, so the NPO is the nothing by mouth. The GTT is drop. Of course, tab is same thing for tablet. Cap is for capsule. ET is and. I usually think of ET as etc. And then the NOCT is nocturnal, which means night. So you will see a lot of these, most of these, matter of fact, in a lot of medication orders that we'll use, because starting now, we'll look at medication orders pretty much here on out. We'll have to get, because all our information comes from the medication order. Also, if you can't think of 142, that same list is in the very front of the book, along with everything else you may need. Okay. So let's look at the medication orders, and I was kind of highlighting these, and then I got to where I was just kind of labeling them or talking about them. But the Phenergan that's our medication name. I'm going to zoom that in. The 25 milligrams is our dosage. The IM is our route. The every 6 hours PRN is our frequency. And then the nausea is the special instructions. So this is like number 2, 3, 4. This is part of 5, and this is the other part of 5. Okay. So your frequency, your time, your special instructions all go together. Wish I left myself more room on these. Our name of our drug on number 2 is codeine. And then our dosage is grain 1/4. We look at it as 1/4 grain. That's more of a apothecary measure, but some of the older doctors and older nurses still use some apothecary measurements. I was going to look up grain too, and I forgot. I think the grain is either a grain of wheat or a grain of rice. And we're not, apothecary measures were back in the 13, 14, 1500s is when it's the first time I started reading about them, was when I was reading books about that time. But I think 1/4 grain is compared to either a wheat grain or a rice grain. I'm not for sure. I'll still have to look that one up. Our route is by mouth, or we can say orally. Our frequency is every 4 hours, PRN, as needed. If it's every 4 hours, if something is given every 4 hours, how many doses in a day are you going to have? 6, yeah. To get the number of doses, you're going to take the 24 hours in one day and divide it by your every so many hours. And in this case, it's every 4 hours. So I'd get 6 doses. Okay. And then again, PRN, if you give the first dose of this at noon, you can't give the second dose till 6 p.m. Okay. Even if they need it at 3, even though it says PRN as needed or when necessary, you still can't give it, well, I say 6 p.m., 4 p.m. because it's every 4 hours. Okay, so you have to wait that time to give it. So if we look at number 3, what's the name of my drug?
Potassium chloride.
Potassium chloride, right. I'll turn up my speaker so I can hear y'all. So potassium chloride. And then what's my dosage? The dosage, yeah, is the 40 milliequivalents, the MEQ, milliequivalents. Okay, then what's my route?
Orally.
Orally, or we could say by mouth. And our frequency?
Twice a day.
Twice a day, 2 times a day, because it's BID. And then do we have any special directions?
Put it in 4 ounces of juice.
Right, the 4 ounces of juice. Trust me, you don't want to take potassium chloride without something. It's nasty. My mother-in-law used to have to take it. And if you notice, the doctor's orders pretty well go the same way all the time. I mean, there'll be times when it's written out differently, but for most of the time when you're given an order, it's going to be written the same way. You're supposed to use a medication order administration form. Most hospitals do it electronically. I haven't been able to find a screenshot of what the electronic uses, what the hospital uses, or how it's used, but it will still have some information like this. You have the date that it was written, then you have the time that the prescription was written, and then you have all the medication orders are written out. You know, on this one that I'm looking at on page 146, we have cefalexin 250 milligrams by mouth every 6 hours. So I have my name, my dosage, my route, and my frequency. So it's all written right there together. And then over here to the side, it's the time noted. This is the time that it was given. It was written at 8:15. They gave the first dose or the initial dose at 8:30. And then notice they checked off that they gave all of them. And then the nurse that gave them, she did the brackets, or she should have probably penciled in that she gave all of them. It just depends on where you're at. But she signed off that she's the one that gave them. And then down here at 2200, they gave, I can't say that one, but it's 80 milligrams IV stat. You notice, and they've got the doctor's the physician's name, J Physician MD, and they've also got it here. These are the people that prescribed it, and then when it was given. And again, this time a different nurse gave it because it was a different shift. But this is a paper-based order form, or MAR. So you may see this, especially if you're working in a nursing home at some point, that's not fully electron, or it's not, everything's not electronic or non-paper based. Here's another type, but it's got the same information. The medication administration or when they gave it, is a little bit differently. They've got the 3 different shifts. They've got, the time that it should be given on each one. And then you mark off whether you've got time and the nurse is going to initial. And then there's one more. This is the pharmacy. And this is more of electronic, I think, where they just printed it off. But it's still the base thing. But this is the way this reads, that it was computerized. So it's what's in the computer. And again, it's things. You've got the patient's information either down at the bottom or up at the top, depending on the form. I will do some of these medication forms for some of the questions that we do with the dosage calculations. I will put them in an MAR and then ask 4, 5, 6 questions about, the different medications, and you'll have to refer back to that MAR. Because you're going to have to do that as a nurse. You're going to have to know about each different medication. All right, well, let's go ahead back to this. Keep picking them out. If we looked at the Demerol, 25 milligrams IM, every 6 hours, PRN for pain. So, I mean, it's still, I'm going to number these and still label them. But what's my medication name? Demerol. And then my dosage.
25 milligrams.
25 milligrams. And then my route.
Intramuscular.
Intramuscular, yeah. And we would put IM on the route. Every 6 hours, PRN. Which one's that? The frequency. And then The pain is our special instructions. So it's still part of our number 5, part of our frequency. So just to finish up these 5 and 6, what's amoxicillin? Which one? What is it on our list of medication order parts?
The drug name.
The drug name. The 500 milligrams is going to be
The dosage.
dosage. The PO represents.
Amount and it's
Yeah. And the TID is the frequency. These are some of the easiest, if you don't overthink it, these are some of the easiest things we'll do all semester. Then we have the morphine sulfate. In this case, it's going to be our drug name. I don't know if there's, I've always heard it called morphine, never morphine sulfate, or sulfate, but that is 2 milligrams against our dosage. The IV is our route. Every 2 hours, PRN is our frequency, and it's for pain, so that's part of our special instructions or special directions. Now on 7, it's written differently, and sometimes as a nurse, you know, the doctor may give you verbal medication orders or double, anyway. So if we give it orally, or if he gives it to me orally, I have to be able to write it. And this one is pretty much already, give Lasix 20 milligrams orally twice a day. So if I'm going to write it as a medication order, I'm going to write Lasix 20 milligrams. Instead of orally, what can I use? What also means orally, but it's an abbreviation?
PO.
PO. And then twice a day, what could I use?
Q2H.
Now, Q2H is every 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
how about BID? BID is twice a day or 2 times a day. Could I write it as Q12H every 12 hours? Y'all are breaking up. I can't hear you or anything. All right, let me go ahead since I don't know what's going on. All right, number 8, the prednisone is my medication. 25 milligrams. We're going to use and write it in abbreviation, the milligrams. Orally, again, I'm going to use the PO. And once daily, I can just write daily. Okay. Is there something I was missing for daily? So I can just write daily. So if I look at number 9, the Tylenol suppository, and it depends on where you're working at and actually what the name is on the drug label. You can use Tylenol as your drug name. The 325 milligrams. The PR, well, that's not supposed to be there. Well, I guess it could have been too. So my route, since it's a suppository, is the PR, the prorectally. Every 6 hours PRN. Again, that's already my frequency. And then for temperatures of 101 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. Okay, so that's my special instructions. Some people will use, like I said, this Tylenol suppository, even though you're no, and I guess I shouldn't have marked out that PR because it's prorectally. So you're either dealing with a very small child, somebody that's got other health issues that can't take it by mouth, or an older adult that, has trouble swallowing. And too, there's sometimes when a suppository will get in your system faster. And it could be somebody that's doesn't keep anything on their stomach. So there's different reasons for giving a suppository. All right. So any questions on this? Okay. What I have planned, I'm going to write it on the back of this. Today is Wednesday. So Monday, we're going to cover Chapter 7, which is medication labels. Actually, that's Chapter 8. We just did Chapter 7 today. So today was Wednesday, which was Chapter 7, which was medication orders. And then sometime between now and then, you need to read Chapter 9. There's no math in 7, no math in 8, no math in 9. 9 is more of a nursing. It's not math related, but it's more nursing skills and common sense. It's preventing medication errors. Know the 6 rights of medication administration. And know about verbal orders. And that's the 2 things I can think of off the top of my head. I'll tell you more about what we're testing over in Chapter 9, but it's your responsibility to read it and to know the 6 rights and know them in order, and then know about verbal orders and the prevention of medication errors. The nurse's critical role. And it is you are the critical, you're the last defense sometimes between a mistake, which could be life-threatening, to, doing it correctly and the patient surviving and getting well. So, but then I want to test on Wednesday, which Wednesday would be, let me have my calendar. So let me get into October. The 7th. And that's going to be over chapters 3 through 9. And I'll try to get up some kind of review. I'll probably call it a homework review for chapters 3 through 9. That way you'll have some idea what the test is going to be over. And the test will look similar to what the first test looked like. Do we have any questions? All right. I can't hear anything and y'all are froze up again. I'm going to have to call Clark or email Clark and tell him that this keeps my camera keep freezing today. If you have questions, feel free to email me, or you can call my office and leave me a message and I'll get back to you. If you're on Jonesboro, I'll be happy to meet with you if you got questions. So, all right, stop by. So maybe make sure you stop by Miss Morgan's office and tell her that we're finished. And I will see you guys on Monday.